The 2025 African Country Instability Risk Index (ASIRI) depicts a continent still struggling with a difficult mix of entrenched crisis and fragile openings for progress. Sub-Saharan Africa's average risk score continues to rise, signaling that political fragility, economic strain, climate shocks, and widening security threats are outpacing gains from projected regional growth and investment. With hundreds of millions of young people set to enter the labor market by 2050, weak governance and limited job creation remain critical fault lines for unrest. Southern Africa remains the most stable of the sub-Saharan regions, but its relative resilience marks mounting stress. South Africa's government of national unity has faced rising political tension, corruption controversies, persistent load shedding, and stubbornly high violent crime, eroding public trust. In June 2025, deadly floods in the Eastern Cape that killed scores of people and displaced thousands underlined both the region's climate vulnerability and the state's limited capacity to protect communities, adding to the country's instability profile. Zambia and Botswana benefited from debt relief and new investment flows, yet remain exposed to commodity slowdowns and recurrent climate shocks, while Madagascar's combination of youth-led protests over poor services and governance problems has kept its risk rating elevated. East Africa continues to post the weakest regional performance in ASIRI, driven by a mix of unresolved conflict and shrinking civic space. Ethiopia's internal tensions in Amhara, Oromia, and Tigray, together with heavy-handed security responses, maintain a high baseline of violence and displacement. In 2025, renewed protests and clashes linked to political disputes and delayed reforms in Ethiopia and South Sudan, coupled with heightened militarization in the wider Horn, underscored how fragile peace agreements remain and how quickly they can unravel into wider regional crises. Restrictive political environment in countries such as Tanzania and tightly closed systems like Eritrea further entrench governance risks and stifle peaceful channels for dissent. Central Africa's instability deepened in 2025, reinforcing its status as one of the continent's most volatile sub-regions. The security situation in eastern DR Congo deteriorated further as the M23 movement, backed by foreign support, expanded its territorial control and intensified clashes with Congolese and regional forces. Early in 2025, the reported takeover of Goma by M23 and Rwanda troops marked a dramatic escalation, sharply raising the risk of interstate confrontation and joining multiple neighboring armies. Cross-border tensions between DR Congo and Rwanda, the spillover of Sudan's war into Chad, and Cameroon's unresolved Anglophone conflicts and disputed electoral politics all kept regional risk scores high, even as Congo-Brazzaville showed modest improvement on governance indicators. West Africa remains shaped by coups, jihadist insurgencies, and democratic backsliding, with ASIRI registering some of the continent's highest scores yet. Military-led regimes in Mali and Burkina Faso have overseen further deterioration in security, governance, and human rights, while their departure from ECOWAS has weakened regional conflict mechanisms. In early 2025, jihadist coalitions such as JNIM increased attacks and pressure around key urban centers in Mali and Burkina Faso, highlighting the widening geographic footprint of Sahelian violence and the growing vulnerability of coastal states like Benin, Togo, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire. At the same time, countries such as Senegal recorded improvement thanks to more orderly political transitions and strong growth prospects, illustrating stark divergence in the region. Across all four regions, leadership and governance remain the weakest pillars in the ASIRI framework. Multiple states are experiencing democratic reverses, rising militarization of politics, and erosion of judicial and oversight institutions, which collectively undermine resilience to shocks. With instability deepening in several pivotal countries and coastal West Africa increasingly exposed to Sahelian and Gulf of Guinea spillovers, ASIRI warns that without meaningful reforms and investment in inclusive, accountable governance, 2026 could bring even sharper declines in regional stability.